Perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin. I am the general manager for Intuit's At Your Table program in San Diego. And today we're going to be going over a really quick, healthy recipe. It is going to be a roasted delicata squash and cremini mushroom. It's a great side dish, really healthy dish. Also, too, if we're talking menu planning, planning out your week, talking about what you need to buy at the store. Squash, once you roast it, it'll cool down and re-roast again the next day very well. So this is one of those things, today it's myself and my girlfriend in my house. I don't have my kids. We have them 1 week on, 1 week off. I do all the shopping and cooking for our household. So it's very difficult to kind of plan week to week. I'm switching all the time of portions and everything. But today I'm going to be making a ton of this because we're going to make it with dinner tonight, make it with dinner tomorrow, might even stretch it for the next day. It's a nice healthy option. And if you switch your protein up on that, so tonight we're going to be doing a chicken with a real simple sauce. Tomorrow could be a nice piece of fish or steak. And then, again, a substitution, maybe a pork loin for the following day. All three of those would go very good with this dish. And you don't have to keep making side dishes. Now you just got to focus on your protein for the next couple of nights. So, again, highly recommended if you're talking about your own personal menu planning, that we can make enough. Don't just think about today. What can we reheat and use again tomorrow? It's a very healthy item. So, perfect. We're going to go ahead and post. We're going to post the actual recipe, link to this recipe online. Now, when I did go to market today, the recipe called for delicata squash. They didn't have any at the store, so I actually opted for a kombucha squash, which I've already cut in half because I'm pre-roasted some already earlier just to give you guys, show everybody what it's supposed to look like. But this is a kombucha squash, so it's got a little bit stronger of a flavor, but it'll work just as well. Also, the only difference here, too, is the squash in the recipe is a little bit smaller, a little bit more lengthwise, so I'm going to cut this in half one more time before I slice it into pieces, but we'll talk about that in a second. So I have my squash. We'll show you how to seed that, too. This is about 8 ounces of squash, too. I have about 5 ounces of cremini mushrooms whole. We're going to go ahead and show you how to prepare those. I got a little bit of canola oil here. I got a spoon for going ahead and seeding my inside of my squash there. Another thing I do menu planning, I'll go to Costco or a larger retailer and buy a big old bag of garlic, and I'll go ahead and just throw it in my food processor, and it just makes it easier day to day. The garlic's one of those things, you peel it every day. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So I usually make a jar full, put it in here. Everything else I put in a bag and I freeze it. And then I just pull them out and defrost it as I need garlic throughout the weeks. Real easy, real simple. Bag of garlic at Costco in California costs about $12, and it's 5 pounds of garlic. So, and I got a little bit of fresh thyme here, so we'll show you how to use that at the end. Some other utensils. We have 2 different bowls. We're going to just kind of season, toss, and roast these separately. So I have 2 different bowls. I have 2 different baking sheets that we're going to use. Cutting board. I got a cut glove to make sure I'm doing everything nice and safe today. A nice sturdy chef's knife. So again, when we're cutting squash, I know I have a couple different chef's knives at home. This is a really thick blade on it. It's going to be a lot easier than one of my blades. It's on the thinner side. That's, for a little bit more delicate cut work. So I have a very industrial, thick bladed knife to do the work for me today. So we'll go ahead and angle you on down and we'll get started real quick. So again, with the squash, what I've done is very carefully on its side, put the flat side down. I've gone ahead and cut open that squash already to get the expose the seeds on the inside. Again, it's really hard to do. Go slow. Really just kind of work the knife in both times. Don't put your fingers underneath the blade, and it'll get you through the inside of that squash. Next thing we have to do is we have to seed it. So it's real simple. And we're just going to use the kind of knife end on that and just kind of mix it out, almost like hopefully all you guys are doing for Halloween this year when you guys are carving out your inside of your pumpkins. Same principle. Obviously, it's in the same family of food. I'm just going to kind of scrape that out, get some of those innards out, because as I roast it, anything that's kind of left hanging is gonna burn up. So that's what the inside of my squash looks like right now. I'm going to go ahead and throw my cut-resistant glove on. Now, again, if I'm using the delicata squash in the recipe, I would probably just thinly just kind of slice it along this way. Since this is a bigger squash, I want to get some more mouthy, kind of reasonable bites. I'm going to go ahead and go this way on it. There we go. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and start going to town. I'm going to go ahead and slice them into about half-inch thick pieces. All right, I'll go ahead and toss that in my bowl for now. So again, this is kind of what we're looking at right now, is something that looks along the lines of that. So we're going to go ahead and do my other pumpkin bit here, or squash, I should say. And it's important you kind of keep all of your slices the same thickness throughout, just to make sure that they're all roasting evenly. Some aren't getting burnt up or overcooked or such. So I got all my squash in one little bowl right here. I'm going to set that off to the side. Now for my mushrooms, okay? So a recipe on the mushrooms here, sorry, I'm just going to dump that, calls for us to go ahead and take out the mushroom stems. If you want to do that's fine. We're going to go ahead and eliminate a little bit of food waste here, so we're not going to do that today. So I'm just going to simply cut them in half. Why waste the product? Awesome. So again, real simple. I've already got my oven heated to 350 degrees. So there's going to be what my mushrooms look like. They're just simply in half. The reason we're not going to just slice them all the way through, again, they're going to be roasted for the same amount of time as that squash. So we want to make sure that they don't burn. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this glove off real quick. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our total ingredients here. Let me grab my salt and my pepper. 1 second. So we are going to go ahead and, I thought I laid out everything I needed. Put 1/8 of a tablespoon of salt and pepper on each of our items here, okay? First, actually, we're going to do is we're going to put a tablespoon and 1/4 on each item of canola oil. Just enough. I'll mix in our seasoning. Put 1/8 of a tablespoon of pepper. 1 tablespoon of salt. Cool. And then we're going to put 1 whole tablespoon of garlic. Okay. Now simply what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix. We're not going to put our thyme in yet. We're going to put our thyme in at the end when we season, okay? So I'm going to use my smaller tray. It doesn't really matter. Go ahead and mix my mushrooms up. And then I'm going to go ahead and arrange my mushrooms on my tray. I want to make sure I space them out fairly evenly to make sure that they're roasting and not kind of steaming together. And then same thing with my squash. Now the recipe is going to say we're going to roast for about 10 to 15 minutes. We want to make sure that we're roasting until you see some blistering, okay? I'm going to show you what that looks like when we're done. Also, the other important thing as we go through and do our cooking process, I like to about halfway through, especially since I'm not working with a convection oven here, which is going to blow the hot air and circulate the hot air a lot to really cook it evenly. I'm about halfway through, so maybe at my 7-minute mark, I'll go ahead and take a tong or a spatula and kind of flip everything over in the oven and then close that door and continue to cook. Again, just to make sure that everything's kind of evenly working out there. And a quick rinse. So let me show you what that looks like. So I got everything nice and evenly over on 2 trays. We're going to go ahead and stick that in the oven, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes at 350 degrees. Now, in the interest of time, I have gone ahead and I've actually done that step for us earlier. Let's grab a fresh bowl and I'll show you how to finish this recipe off. So I've already gone ahead and roasted my product earlier. So this is kind of what we're looking at here. So I have my mushrooms, they're nice and cooked. They're cooked all the way through. They got a little bit of sponginess to them. So we're going to toss those in a bowl. And then we're looking for some blistering like that. So we want some nice little coloration on my my kombucha squash or my delicata squash, whatever you're using. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and toss all of that into a single bowl together. Obviously, this would still be very warm. I cooked them earlier, so I will touch that with my hand. And then simply, we would take our fresh thyme, which is about 1.5 tablespoons of thyme, kind of toss it into that bowl while it's still nice and warm. And then we can go ahead and plate. Perfect. All right, then we have a nice little healthy side. Also, too, on the recipe we're going to post, we'll have you'll see the calorie counts and everything on there, too, as well. So, awesome. All right, well, thank you guys for joining. Does anybody have any questions today to round out our feature today? All right, thank you very much, and have a great day. We'll see you next week.